Hello and welcome to Tell Me About Gaming. Sit back, relax, and open up those ears because today I'm going to be telling you guys my opinion on the newly released Fable game titled Fable Fortune. Let's get into it. So, let's have a chat about the newest addition to the long-existing Fable franchise titled Fable Fortune. Fable Fortune is quite a bit different from the previous entries, as it is actually not an RPG. Instead, it is a card game. Now, when fans of the series discovered the potential of a new Fable game, obviously a lot of people got super excited. And as soon as they discovered it was going to be a card game, that excitement immediately died down and a lot of disappointment happened, including for me. I was looking so forward to hopefully a new Fable game that was set in the RPG open worlds that it's used to. However, there is a reason that they went down this route. The developers behind the original games, Lionhead Studios, was actually shut down in April of 2016 by its owner Microsoft, and its project at the time, Fable Legends, was unfortunately cancelled. Some of those developers never gave up, however, and later on ended up forming a new independent game studio by the name of Flaming Fowl Studios, who are the developers behind Fable Fortune. Now, obviously they do not have the funds and resources that they used to have when they were a part of Microsoft, meaning they simply would not be able to create games on the same level as before. Ambition is a good thing, but when it comes to independent game development, it can be a project killer. So instead of trying to make the next huge RPG, the developers decided to go down the route of creating a card game instead. They didn't just create any card game though, they wanted to create one that was set in the existing Fable universe and that tried to add some new and unique additions to the card game genre. Now, how did they do at that mission? Well, let's talk about it. As always, I like to start my reviews by talking about the very first thing you usually see in a game, and that is its art style. Fable Fortune is very cartoony, which is great as it fits right in to the previous games and feels at home from the first moment you start playing it if you were already a fan of the Fable series. It simply has that Fable vibe and charm to it, and I could not be more happy with the direction in which the art was taken. The cards themselves feature a nice bit of variation between decks and are very well designed. They are nice to look at, and once again, if you're a longtime fan of the series, you will definitely see some nice familiar things. The game also features several different backgrounds in which the battles can take place, and once again they are done very well. They vary in environment and inspiration, are well designed, and they are nice to look at. My only complaint is that it would be kind of nice to maybe feature a little more of a interactable dynamic map that you can play around with while you're waiting for your turn, kind of similar to what Hearthstone does. Now, this is definitely not necessary and it's really just a little complaint, but I just figured I'd point it out as it may be something nice for the developers to add in the future, just to add a little more spice to the game. Overall, I think the artwork in this game is very well done and I very much enjoy it, so 2 big thumbs up to the developers on this one. Now, I want to talk about an area of the game that is actually kind of lackluster for me, and that is the music and sound. Let me start by saying I don't think the music or sound design in this game is bad at all. Indeed, at times it can be quite good. I just simply don't think it is ever great, which is a shame considering the previous entries. Both the music and the sound in the game fits quite well into the Fable universe, but honestly, it just gets kind of boring and there's nothing special about it. In fact, most of the time I find myself simply muting the game and playing it with my own music in the background. I won't go on for too much longer about this section of the game as I really don't have much to say about it, but like I stated before, by no means is it bad, it's just never all that great, and I think I was simply expecting a little more from a team of this skill level and expertise. At this point in my reviews would usually be right around when I start discussing the story of a game, but this is a card game, meaning there is simply not much story to be found. Thankfully, this is an established universe with plenty of lore, so if you want some background into the world you are playing in, it can easily be found online and in other games. In Fable Fortune itself, however, while it may have some references to the original stories and lore, and a little bit of narrative to read, it's a card game and there's really not much here. So if you're looking for the next Telltale game to be Fable Fortune, you obviously may want to look somewhere else. Alright, so now that we've talked about the artistic aspects of the game, let's get into the stuff that most people want to know about, and that is the gameplay. Is Fable Fortune a good card game? That is the question, and thankfully, I can say that in my own personal opinion, I definitely think it is. In fact, it's one of my favorite card games in a long time. Now, I do want to point out that I am not a huge fan of the card game genre. I'm not very competitive at it, and to be quite honest, most of the time I'm very bad at them. However, there have been a few that I've liked, so for me to really like Fable Fortune is a good sign. Fortune sticks to the normal formula. You and your opponent take turns playing cards. You have a certain amount of points in the form of coins that you can spend per rounds on your cards, and the main objective is to take all the health away from the enemy. Pretty basic card game stuff. Where the game gets interesting is its extra systems and game modes. First of all, taking inspiration from the previous games in the series, which as mentioned before were RPGs, Fable Fortune actually has a questing system. At the start of a match, players can choose between 3 different quests in order to receive different rewards and pathways in each game. When completing a quest, you can decide between an evil or good action, resulting in different outcomes. This is a very nice reference to the previous games. This adds an interesting and captivating aspect to the game, as it gives the players more things to think about and work towards. On top of that, the game features some nice and unique game modes. It has your pretty obvious offline training mode, it also has your PvP seasons, but on top of that, it has something that I don't really think I've seen before in a card game, and that is a cooperative mode in which you and another player can actually take on missions against AI and try to beat them together in a 2v1 battle. It's very nice and very unique, and it's enjoyable. At the moment, you actually cannot play it with friends unless you get lucky with the matchmaking, as there is not an invite system, but the game is in early access, and from what I understand, they're planning on adding this in the future, so we'll talk more about that when we get to the early access portion of this review. At the moment, there are 6 different decks in the game that players can choose from that all vary in playstyle and in how they look, and so far I have enjoyed pretty much most of them. At the moment, my favorite is actually Alchemist, as I just really like how that deck plays. Now, in terms of balancing, I really don't see anything wrong. Personally, I think they are quite well balanced, and there hasn't been a deck yet that I've played where I thought it was unfair. With that being said, as I mentioned before, I am not really a card game player. I don't play them very much on the competitive side. I'm very much more of a casual player, so maybe to others they might find it a little bit unbalanced, but to me personally it's quite alright. Make sure if you've played this game and you're very competitive to let me know in the comments below what you think about the balancing of the cards. I would love to hear your thoughts. So the only last thing I want to touch about on the gameplay is the one thing that is kind of iffy for me, and that is the safeguard function. So similar to other games where you had things like taunt, you can actually safeguard your cards while they're on the field, meaning that the enemy player must attack your card before they can attack anything else. Now, this can be either a very nice feature in Fable Fortune or an annoying one, and I'm going to tell you why right now. Unlike other games where some cards just have taunts and others do not, Fable Fortune basically allows you to put Safeguard on any card as long as you have the coins to spend on it. On each of your turns, as long as you have enough coins to buy it, and as long as you haven't used it already, you can safeguard a card. Now, this is good because it gives players a chance to build up their battlefield, and it doesn't end the game immediately if somebody has a certain type of deck. It gives you a chance to actually stay in the game. However, at the same time, this can be kind of annoying because really you can just be safeguarding non-stop, and it might take a while for somebody to actually get hit. So there's kind of a good side to this and kind of a bad side. Personally, I don't really care too much. I think it's alright, but I'm sure some people will find it annoying and some people will absolutely love it. I think it depends on your playstyle. So overall, I think the gameplay is done very well. It took the basics that you already know from all these other card games and just made them the same way that others had and polished them out to make them very fun, but then it also added its own little unique twist on it with the questing system, the good and evil system, the safeguarding, as well as just the plain out fun and nutty things you get to see in the Fable universe. On top of that, it added some really cool game modes, and everything works well, and so far I've really enjoyed the game. So finally, the most important question when it comes to reviewing a game is simply, is it fun? And thankfully and happily, I can say Fable Fortune is very, very fun. I've enjoyed my time with it very much, and I think I would definitely recommend it to any long-time fans of the series. Now, the game is in early access, meaning at the moment you have to pay for it. From what I can understand, it seems as if in the future the game will actually go free to play. So as I just stated a moment ago, if you are a longtime fan of the series and you really want to get into Fable Fortune right now, I would definitely recommend buying it. I don't think you're going to regret it. But if you're kind of having second thoughts about buying this, if you don't really care about Fable, you just want a new card game, and you don't really want to spend money right now, you might want to wait until it goes free to play. However, if you do take the jump and buy the game, I really do not think you're going to regret it. It's a great, great game. Hey everyone, so this is me from the future. I am currently editing the video, and realizing that I am a dumb person, I completely skipped over the early access portion of the review. So let's pretend like that never happened, and I'm going to add that in right now. So as I've mentioned, the game is actually in early access at the moment, so it does have multiple bugs and issues with it. First of all, the UI in the game can be quite clunky. It looks nice, but it's not very responsive. A lot of the times it will freeze, it will crash, and you just have no idea what's going on. On top of that, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the player base or for server issues, it can be very difficult sometimes to actually find other people to play with, whether you're playing against them or if you're playing in the co-op mode, so that's something to keep in mind. Sometimes you may have to wait a little bit to actually get into a game. Something else that is pretty prevalent in the game are crashes. You'll see them quite often, and they do happen, but the game's in early access, so it's to be expected. Multiple times I've had the game give me an error message and restart, so just be prepared for that. But as I've said, it's early access, all this stuff is going to be expected. For the main part, the game is quite polished, it works well, and at its core, it's completely fine. Okay, so once again, let's pretend like this never happened and that I didn't forget this, and let's get back to the actual video. So that's going to be it for this review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I do apologize if my voice sounded a little bit weird or boring. I'm not feeling the best at the moment, but I really wanted to get a video out there for you guys, as I have not been able to upload one in about a week, so I just wanted to get something out there, so I do apologize if I sounded a little weird. Hopefully you all still enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, make sure to let me know. I will try my best to answer them. Make sure to let me know in the comments below what you guys think about Fable Fortune. Are you excited to play it? Have you played it? What are your thoughts? As always guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to drop a thumbs up. It really helps me out. And if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so very much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see your beautiful minds in the next video.